Thank you all for joining us today. So in a moment, I will sign H.J. Res. 30. H.J. Res. 30 would block a woke Biden administration rule that forces Americans to fund left-wing activism at the expense of the retirement savings. So what this will do is actually put people before politics. But unfortunately, President Biden wants to put politics before your own savings. For the older generation of America who works really hard to save their money for the day of retirement, they're going to have less. Because he thinks left-leaning wokeism is more important than you getting a return on your investment. Everyone you see behind me has pulled together to pass this bipartisan resolution. I want to give a special thanks, though, to Representative Andy Barr. Andy has done a tremendous job on working this, on both sides of the aisle, of looking out for the future of individuals to have more of their hard-earned money. And he put together this bipartisan proposal that passed the House and got a majority in the Democrat-controlled Senate. Along with Andy, there are several members here who are leading the charge against ESG. Right next to me is Chairwoman Virginia Fox from Education and Workforce. She's done a tremendous job. Financial Service Chairman Patrick McHenry, and Congressman Huizenga, who leads the ESG working group, and all the members of the ESG working group, and so many more. This resolution that strongly deserves to become law. It passed the House, and it passed the Senate on a bipartisan basis. Unfortunately, our president wants to pick the left-leaning activism over the return on your investment. So literally what he is telling businesses, they have to go woke and not look at the return of the investment. So for everyone who invests in a retirement account, you can't look to get the highest return. Why do you invest? You invest to get a higher return so you have money in the future. Now he's taken that away. He's prioritized his own politics over people, and that is wrong. I hope the president will actually do the right thing, side with the American people, and sign this bill immediately. Otherwise, he'll be on record defending a woke ESG rule that undermines Americans' financial security. Now with that, I'd like to call up our majority leader who worked on this to make sure it passed the floor and get to the Senate, Steve Scalise.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to start by thanking Andy Barr for taking the leadership on this bill to go and fight for those hardworking taxpayers who are out there on the job every single day, showing up for work. And as they're working, they're putting a little bit of money aside. They're investing their money in 401ks so that one day they could retire and enjoy the other part of the American dream. After they work so many years of their life, they want to retire. And they want a retirement fund that's going to give them the highest rate of return so they can go do more things in their retirement. And so they want investment opportunities that are going to ultimately allow them to have the best ability to retire and enjoy their life after work. And yet President Biden got together with a bunch of billionaire elites who came up with utopian ideas to move those hardworking taxpayers' retirement funds into lower returning funds, these ESG funds. Historically, they're lower returns than the market, and by the way, they actually cost more. It's kind of the typical example of big government socialism. Less return on American dollars at a higher cost to the hardworking taxpayer. That's not the America that those 150+ million people worked for. They deserve to have the highest rate of return so that they can enjoy retirement to the fullest. And so President Biden's got a choice. When Speaker McCarthy signs this bill and sends it over to the White House, President Biden's got a choice. He's going to have to pick between billionaire elites or those hardworking taxpayers who just want to have the best retirement possible after decades of working and paying into the system. The billionaires already have their money. Don't these hardworking taxpayers deserve the same ability to live their retirement to the fullest? That's a choice the president's going to have to make. And I think he's going to be hearing from Americans all over the country. as you see people, and anybody watching, if you're a blue-collar worker, you might not be a billionaire, but you want to enjoy the highest rate of return in your 401k so that when you do retire, you can do more things in your retirement. And a decision by President Biden in the next few days is going to decide just how much you're going to be able to get in your retirement. And so don't wait. Get in touch with the White House now. Remind the president that he was elected to represent all the people, not just the billionaire elites who might get his ear every day, but those hardworking Americans who make this country what it is today. And the man who led the charge to stand up for those hardworking taxpayers is my dear friend, Andy Barr from Kentucky.
Thank you, Mr. Leader, and thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Chair Fox, for your leadership with jurisdiction over retirement savings in America, and to my good friend, Congressman Huizenga, for leading the charge on this ESG task force in the Financial Services Committee. Mr. Speaker, thank you for including in the Commitment to America the platform of putting people over politics. And Mr. Leader, thank you for bringing to the House floor this resolution disapproving of this woke Department of Labor regulation that does just that, puts politics ahead of people and retirement security. And this is a big deal for American workers and future retirees, because the gap between what Americans have saved for retirement and what they're going to actually need for retirement is $3.8 trillion. And so hardworking Americans deserve maximum financial performance. They deserve and need returns. They don't need a regulation from Washington that steers them into higher fee, lower performing, less diversified funds. And that's what these so-called ESG funds are. They are less diversified. They are concentrated risk, and this is investing 101. You want diversification. And this is a big deal in a year where we're coming off of a huge sell-off, where people who were invested in ESG unwittingly and without their consent in many cases, they suffered losses far greater than the average investor who is broadly and diversely invested across the board. And it's true, these funds carry 43% higher fees, which also eat into their returns. So thank you to all of those involved in fighting for America's retail investors, fighting for financial performance, and fighting to get politics out of retirement savings. The American people deserve retirement security. They don't want their retirement security compromised by the politicization of the allocation of their capital. And so with that, it gives me a great pleasure now to introduce a fighter on the front lines from the state level. My good friend Allison Ball, who is the state treasurer of the Commonwealth of Kentucky, and she, along with other state officials around the country, have been leading the fight against ESG investing. And so at this point in time, I'd like to bring to the podium our great state treasurer, Allison Ball.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, I am here to give a state perspective on this issue. I'm here to support what is happening. As a Kentuckian, as the state treasurer of Kentucky, I've been fighting this issue on the state level. Kentucky has one of the most unfunded pension plans in America. It may actually be the 50th. So I have been fighting to make sure our pension systems are strong and people can retire. So I've been pushing back against the ESG movement. There are many other treasurers who have been pushing back. So I'm here to give you that perspective. And I want to say, once upon a time, pension systems and retirement investments, they were about getting good returns, making sure that people could retire at the end of their work life. And we need to return to that mentality. We don't need to push ideological agendas. We don't need to push anything that is progressive. We need to focus on getting good returns so people can retire at the end of their work life. So I am proud to be here. I am proud to support this. I think this is important for the whole country, and it's important for Kentucky. So thank you very much, and I appreciate and support everything that you're doing.
Thank you, Treasurer. And we're pleased also to be joined by a constituent of mine, a farmer from Fleming County, Kentucky, who at a town hall meeting raised this issue of ESG. How does this issue impact regular, ordinary Americans in addition to savers and investors. Charlie's going to talk about that and how discriminating against energy and investment hurts capital formation and increases the cost of energy for farmers. Charlie?
My wife, Roseanne, and I own a farm in Fleming County, Kentucky, Masters Acres. We sell produce, eggs, honey, and our signature product is our grass-fed craft beef that is all Kentucky proud. And we've heard about the effect of ESG on people's future. I want to talk a little bit about its effect here in the present. ESG has an effect on us by our two biggest expenses on the farm, fuel and fertilizer. And ESG managed to put those two together. And they did it in this way. Within sight of my house, there's been 2 coal-fired power plants that's been destroyed this year on purpose. And so something has to take their place. Well, one of the things that's available and works is natural gas. But this extra demand on natural gas has forced up its price. Natural gas is also a vital part of the manufacture of nitrogen fertilizers like urea. And nitrogen fertilizers are important to all the cereal grains and all the grass that my cows rely on. So urea last year went from about $300 a ton to nearly $1,000 a ton. And that had a big effect on our business and it allowed us, prohibited us from fertilizing as we should have. Energy exploration is slowed down by ESG and the pressures put on the energy sector. Last year, we saw our diesel fuel prices double, and we all remember $5 gas. And that has a big effect on our bottom line. So in the end, our farm has not been able to raise our prices enough to compensate for the increased costs, squeezing out our profits to the point of we're really operating at a loss. We look forward, Mr. Speaker, we look forward to President Biden signing this bill and support our farm by cutting our costs and also allowing us to reduce the price of our food to our customers.
And our final guest is Fred Lewis, who's also going to talk about how ESG hurts the American people.
Good morning. My name is Fred Lewis. I'm from Menominee Falls, Wisconsin. I'm a facility supervisor for the Petron Corporation. I'm here today because I'm concerned that the new ESG rule could put my retirement savings at risk to serve a woke agenda. There's no reason that the ESG rule should exist. Everyday Americans like myself are tired of watching politicians in D.C. making everything political at the expense of hardworking people. What matters when it comes to retirement accounts like mine is how much my balance is, not whether the companies in my 401k plan support environmental and other political policies. That's why I've retained the counsel with the Wisconsin Institute of Law and Liberty to sue the Biden administration over this rule. It's why I'm here today to speak about the great work that is happening right here in our Congress. It doesn't happen every day, but today Congress acted on behalf of millions of Americans like myself who just want to save for retirement. Americans who want their nest egg financially secure, but secure from politics as well. And with any hope, the President will see the action and respect Congress's decision to reject this rule. With the stroke of a pen, he can end this rule and protect retirement for all Americans. Thank you.
It's really quite clear. The President has a decision to make. He can follow what the majority of a bipartisan in the House and Senate said to stop this. He can follow the American public. If he vetoes it, Americans are going to have to work longer and have less retirement. But there's another aspect of this. It's going to take away from the research and the development. that America's future will not be at a disadvantage. What the President needs to do is follow what the majority in the House and Senate have said. We listen to the American public. Do not bring politics into retirement accounts. Let people make their own decision and have greater choice and get a greater return on the investment so they could have more money for their retirement, more money for their grandchildren, and more money to be able to have a safer life as they move forward. So, we're going to move over. It's going to be the first time I've signed, but it will not be our last. Thank you all very much. Great job.